There's a strange kind of danger in getting everything you've ever wanted. We spend our lives chasing some dream, believing it holds the key to our happiness. We tell ourselves, if I can just get this one thing, everything will be okay. It takes most people a lifetime to realize that the finish line can become a trap, the starting point for a new kind of suffering, a quiet emptiness that drowns out every happy thought. What if I told you that trap was at the very core of Chainsaw Man, at the very core of my life, and maybe the very core of yours too? Before Denji was Chainsaw Man, he was nothing. Just a kid buried under his dead father's debt to the Yakuza. A debt so impossibly huge that he was selling off his own body parts to stay alive. A kidney, his right eye, a testicle. He was literally erasing himself, piece by piece, to pay for a crime that wasn't even his. His only friend in the world was a cute little devil dog with a chainsaw for a face named Pachita. Together, they lived in a rusted-out shack, sharing a single slice of bread for dinner and hunting devils for pocket change. Denji's dreams weren't big. He wasn't dreaming of becoming the Demon Slayer King, saving the world, or even saving himself. His goal was painfully, heartbreakingly small. He dreamed of eating a slice of bread with jam on it. This wasn't a dream of ambition. It isn't even a dream of survival. His world was so small, so consumed by the daily grind of fear and hunger, that there was no room for anything else. His crude manners, his lack of education, his almost non-existent morals, all of it was a direct result of an environment where the future was a luxury he couldn't afford. I think Denji was resigned to the idea that he'd probably die poor and alone, a forgotten footnote in a world that never knew he was there. It's a heartbreaking state of being that's hard to imagine if you've never been there, but it's a grim reality for a lot of people. At one point, that included me. When all of your energy is spent just trying to make it to the next day, your desires shrink to fit the size of your world. You stop wanting to conquer the world. All you want is a seat at the table, a warm bed, to feel, just for once, like an actual human being. This profound sense of lack is the starting line for Denji's whole journey. It's the deep dark valley he's going to climb out of, only to find that the view from the top is not at all what he expected. Denji's tragedy doesn't start with what he loses, but with what he gains. Because in the world of Chainsaw Man, and in ours, getting what you want can be the most dangerous thing of all. Denji's broken down home, his crudeness, that dream of jam on toast, is not relatable for many people, but I get it. I understand it on a fundamental level. I didn't grow up hunting devils, but I was surrounded by them. I grew up in Syria, in the shadow of a brutal regime where the future felt imaginary. Life was a cage of things I couldn't do, lines I couldn't cross, and thoughts I couldn't say out loud. My mom, sister, and I, like so many others, lived in a state of quiet, constant fear. The bombings, the disappearances, the threat of violence on one side, and the struggling to make ends meet on another. It's like a meter ticking down, with you just barely maintaining it, as the world throws more and more and more of its crap at you. My jam on toast was freedom, a life without fear that I could die on my way to college. It was stable electricity, it was internet that would load YouTube videos on 720p. It was being able to speak my mind without disappearing the next day. When you live in a place where your existence feels conditional, normal becomes the ultimate fantasy. I never once dreamed of owning a cool sports car. I dreamed of the things other people expect, things people deem as basic rights. I remember so many nights spent in the dark, without electricity, in the cold, listening for a sound, a hint, anything that the people around me haven't given up, only to get nothing. It's like Syria itself is holding its breath. In my mind, all I could think back then was, if I could just get out, if I could just make it somewhere else, anywhere else, I would be happy forever. That was my starting line. Just like Denji, my desire wasn't born from ambition, but from scarcity. It was a single goal that I thought held the key to everything. The journey to get there wasn't easy. a series of risky moves and uncertain futures, a path that millions of others were also running on, escaping their own versions of hell. I lost pieces of my heart that I can never get back, but I held onto that one thought. Get to the other side, and the pain will stop. I was absolutely convinced that achieving this one dream, a life free from the daily terror of survival, would be the end of my suffering. I believed it would be enough, but I was wrong. We both were. Denji and I were about to learn a lesson far crueler than we could have thought. On a devil hunt, Denji dies. Betrayed by the Yakuza, he's chopped up and tossed in a dumpster, but Pochita, his only friend, enters him into a contract and becomes Denji's new heart. He's reborn as Chainsaw Man, and things finally start to go his way. He gets recruited by the public safety devil hunters, and for the first time, Denji realizes there could be more to life. He's given a decent place to sleep, regular meals. He makes friends and bonds with his partners Aki and Power. In an instant, he's eating udon. He has a roof over his head. His dream has been fulfilled. For a moment in time, the space between fulfilling his dream and realizing it, everything is perfect. After that is where the trap springs shut and the hedonic treadmill kicks into gear. The hedonic treadmill is a theory that people will always eventually return to a baseline level of happiness no matter what happens to them. As your life gets better, your expectations rise to meet it, leaving you in a perpetual chase for the next thing. You get a raise and you're thrilled for a month until the new salary just becomes your salary. You buy the car you've always wanted and the thrill fades, replaced by the desire for a better one. This is exactly what happens to Denji. The dream of a warm bed and food is immediately replaced with a new, more complicated one. Not yet grasping his want for connection and love, he wants to touch a girl's boobs. Well, it's not really that complicated now that I think about it. That becomes his new jam on toast, the one goal driving him. But when he finally does it, after risking his life, he's again met with a profound sense of nothing. The act itself was hollow. He realizes the dream wasn't about the act itself, but about the intimacy he thought it stood for. So the treadmill speeds up. The goals get more abstract. He wants a real date. He wants a real kiss. He wants to be loved. He wants someone to acknowledge that he, Denji, exists. That he, Denji, matters. Each time he gets a taste of what he wants, the satisfaction is gone in a flash, immediately replaced by a new, more desperate craving. This cycle makes him incredibly easy to manipulate. His boss, the terrifying and enigmatic Makima, understands this treadmill perfectly. She dangles the promise of love and a normal life in front of him. She gives him just enough to keep him running, but never enough to where he realizes that it may be time to stop. I made it. I got out of Syria, I found safety, and that initial feeling was a tidal wave of relief so powerful, it felt like I could finally breathe after years of being underwater. The simple things were euphoric. Electricity 24/7, fast internet, sleeping without the fear of a bomb dropping. Even though I flinched and jumped at the sound of every supercar revving its engine, it was clear that my past wouldn't be so easy to leave behind. It was still a dream come true, and for a while, I was deliriously happy. I had reached the other side. The pain, I thought, was over. As I nestled into my new life, the hedonic treadmill was already keeping pace. After a few months, constant electricity wasn't a miracle anymore. It was expected. I didn't care if my phone was at 100 or 1%, because I could charge it whenever I wanted. Fast internet wasn't a gift. I wasn't actively going back and watching all of my favorite videos in high quality. My baseline for normal had reset. That deep, profound gratitude started to fade, and in its place, a whole new set of desires cropped up. I started this YouTube channel to process my thoughts and connect with people. My first video that got tens of views felt like the greatest success of my life. I was over the moon, but then the next video had to do better. The joy of creating was slowly being replaced by the anxiety of numbers. The goalpost was always moving. I was no longer overjoyed at the utility of the partition where I lived. I wanted to move into my own studio. I wanted a better job, more money, more recognition. All of these feelings bubbled inside, and I didn't even realize I was on a treadmill, chasing new goals that promised a happiness that felt just as far away as the one I chased back in Syria. This is the quiet emptiness I was talking about. It's that quiet, insidious void that grows in the space between getting what you want and wanting the next thing. It's the feeling of standing on a mountaintop you fought tooth and nail to climb, only to find yourself looking at a dozen higher peaks in the distance. The desperation was gone, but a different kind of suffering took its place. The anxiety of ambition, the pressure to keep moving, the quiet disappointment that the one thing you wanted so badly didn't fix you. I wasn't running from physical danger anymore. Now, I was running from the feeling of standing still. I could finally dream of a future, and I realized how scary that really is. I had gotten everything I thought I wanted, only to realize I had no idea what to do next. I was free, but I was also adrift, caught in the same cycle of endless wanting that had trapped Denji. So, what's the answer? If getting what you want doesn't make you happy, are we all just doomed to run on this thing forever? Chainsaw Man doesn't give a simple solution, but it does point to a way out of sorts. Denji's journey isn't your typical power-up fantasy. His growth isn't a straight line, it's a messy, painful cycle of gaining and losing. Through all that suffering, something inside him starts to change. At some point in the story, Denji's desires start to point ever so slightly away from himself. He forms a chaotic, dysfunctional, but real bond with power and Aki. They become his family. For the first time, he starts to care about something more than his own immediate gratification. To me, that was the tell. That's the way off the treadmill. The antidote isn't to stop wanting things, it's to change why you want them. Denji's story suggests that meaning isn't found in what we get for ourselves, but in the connections we build and the responsibility we choose to take on for others. His happiest moments aren't when he's achieving some hedonistic goal. They are the small, boring moments of just living with Aki and power, eating dinner, arguing, watching movies together, helping one another through the tough moments life is bound to throw your way. My own journey has started to reflect that too. The moments that have truly broken me out of the more cycle weren't when a video got more views or when I bought a new piece of tech. They were the moments of real connection. A message from someone saying a video helped them feel less alone. A conversation with a friend that reminds me what's actually important. A phone call with my mom reflecting on our past and how far we've come by sharing the pain and looking out for each other. The fulfillment I was chasing wasn't in more views, subscribers, or likes. It was in the purpose I found by sharing my story and connecting with a community. Denji is probably the strongest anime protagonist ever. Not because he's indestructible or unbeatable. It's because he has the strength of someone who has been to the absolute bottom again and again, gotten a taste of something better, and then decides to fight. Not for himself, but for others. The pain of getting everything you want comes from the shock of discovering the finish line was just a mirage. It's the realization that happiness isn't a place you arrive at, but a state of being you have to consciously build and maintain. Denji's story is a dark, bloody, and often ridiculous parable about this exact human struggle. He starts by dreaming of the simplest comforts and ends by learning the most complex truth of human life. The trap of endless desire is real, but the key isn't to get more, it's to find meaning in what you already have, and more importantly, in who you have to share it with. Thank you so much for watching. Consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video. Share your stories in the comments if you want, or join the Discord channel. Interacting with you guys, hearing your experiences, and just chatting has been the absolute best thing about making these videos. That's it from me now. Catch you next time.